Om. 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 Om Sahana
Sahana Bhavatu.
Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Mavid Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So who would like to chant?
I'll chant.
Just want, yeah, please go ahead. But before that, I just want to check. Somebody's ID here is 101112.
That is Suresh. Suresh Vemuri.
Memory. Okay, okay. Very good. Very good. Just wanted to check. Yeah, please go ahead, Anandji.
ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन कृतां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैता अमृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणी.
The next two.
नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे पुल्लारविन्दाय तपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयप्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृदुहे नमः.
वसुदेवसुदं देवं कंसचारूणमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्.
सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं त्वा सर्वपापेभ्यः मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः.
Great. Thank you. So we are on that section of the 13th chapter, where the means to knowledge is also considered very important, and it is called knowledge. And we are on the section of 20 values. So far, we have actually uh, done about, so we talked about last time that, the gap between us as a jiva and us as an Ishvara is really where the entire transformation or the progress that needs to be made in order for us to progress in our spirituality. So far we did these five values, and yes, we are going a little slow, mainly because each of these values are so very important, and this is actually the what the cog in the wheel, if you want to say, or the blocks which is really preventing us from moving ahead. So we did these five values: amanitvam, adhambitvam, ahimsa, kshanti, and arjavam. Each one in its own way, really reducing the gap, like I said, between who we think we are as a jiva and Ishvara. So, and all this is actually only in the mind. It is, as I have in my next slide, they are all nothing but an attitude change that needs to be made. There is really no major physical exertion. I wish there was, just like we get on our treadmill or elliptical and we are able to monitor, the amount of calories we're burning or whatever. I wish we could actually monitor that by mentally. Um, uh, in fact, we can do it if we want to, if we have a kind of a journal and we are making note every day on where, we are kind of going wrong with this practice of these five values, at least as of now, what we're talking about. But that is where this 20 values really helps a lot. It is the aspect of changing the attitude within us. So, in each one of these values, we come to realize how much we think about ourselves. And every knock on our head, which we go through with the experience, it really brings back to the fact that, guess what? It's not the disrespect that people have. It's not that as if somebody's really hurting me. It's not that somebody did not welcome me, somebody did not honor me, somebody did not value me. It's all none of those things. All of them is actually in our own head. And through the proper attitude, we can actually change. So, in here, that is why these values have been given. We are still in that kind of the lowest level of this pyramid, which I'm showing here. And the reason for that is this is really where a major amount of changes. And that's why I think this pyramid is a nice way of looking at it, because once this part of it is taken care of, this other part of it, the second level here, which is detachment or equanimity, and all this will kind of automatically come about. And it, even though, maybe we can think about this 80-20 Pareto rule, where literally just for that 20% of this 80% of the effort is required. And that is what we see here in this pyramid. A major amount of the progress that can happen within us is when about 80% of the garbage that can be taken from our minds, and that happens through all these six values that we are looking at out here. So that is where this 20 values we are looking at. Today we will look at Acharya Upasanam and Shaucham. And as another thing to look at these values is the values are getting more and more and more subtle, actually. And even up to here, amanitvam and adambitvam is where most of our lives really get stuck. And from there on, when we understand this values correctly, this is where ahimsa comes into play, where ahimsa, as we have discussed before, is not non-violence at just a physical level, but it's more so at the mental level. And once we do that, we actually uh, get to the level of a very active acceptance. It is not a passive acceptance. It is not, kshanti can mean forbearance. Forbearance means titiksha, but forbearance not from a point of view of just passively accepting, saying that, after all, what can I do, I'm a small person or whatever. It's not like that, but with the idea that people can be of various kinds. And our acceptance many times doesn't come in, mainly because we expect them to behave the way I want them to behave. But once I have that acceptance that everybody have their own unique value, not values, basically positives and negatives, knowing that even I have a lot of negatives, if other people can accept me, why can't I accept others? So that's where this Kshanti is a very powerful value. And Arjavam, of course, is straightforwardness, being straightforward in what I think, what I say, and what I do. So, in all this, when there's complete alignment, that's where Arjavam is. So, this is why, this bottom rung of this pyramid is an important aspect, because that's where most of our problems really come about. So, yes, this is still only part of verse number 8, but the reason we are spending that time again is how critical each one of these values are. So Arjam is what we discussed last time about how the alignment is very, very important in anything and everything what I say. If I don't do that, that leads to disintegration, and disintegration obviously leads to destruction. And this destruction, of course, is destruction in the values, destruction in which then translates to how relationships occur. And in here, that is where this alignment is important. And it's all about alignment, alignment. So now we come to a very, I would say, a value which is Acharyopasanam. So Acharyopasanam is, of course, service to the teacher. Acharya, which is teacher, and of course, acharyas can be of different kinds. Acharya is a teacher like our parents are our teachers, and then we have a first grade teacher, again the middle school teacher, the high school teacher. They all are teaching us, um, in most of the time, I would say, skills in a particular area of knowledge, right? But here we're talking about a teacher who's teaching us beyond the skills needed for a work situation or anything. Here we're talking about an acharya who's really teaching about us going beyond the things that we're doing and really teaching us a true goal of our lives. Okay, so that is where this Acharya Upasanam really means. So, uh, Acharya Upasanam basically means giving respect actually to a master, um, giving respect, service to the teacher, and we will look into all this in today's session itself. So, Acharya Upasanam can also probably, if you look at the definition from old times, it can it can indicate a guru-sishya relationship also. As you know, in those days, we had what we call this many of the ashrams where students would go and study. So would study with a teacher and the teacher's wife, who both would take care of the child. So it was called as Gurukula Vasam, Gurukula Vasam, or staying at the feet of the teacher and for a certain amount of time, and doing service to the teacher. And by doing the service, the teacher, teaches a lot of things and shows really what knowledge is and imparts that knowledge itself. So, another meaning for upasanam, of course, can be meditation. So that can be kind of considered as a literal meaning for this Acharya Upasanam. And it basically means, um, where my mind is so in tune with the teacher. Okay. So sometimes when you think about Upasanam, the word Upasanam, it might we may think that, okay, maybe it means like, just like, I have it in my previous thing here, service to the teacher, right? So service to the teacher sometimes can be something that we say that, where I'm only serving the teacher by bringing this teacher food, and of course, in those days, you have all the wood you'd cut in the forest and bring to the teacher so that the teacher's wife could cook for everyone, and then, washing the clothes of the teacher. All these things, is what we think is this as service, right? But then service is actually, we need to think about it beyond service, which is actually meditation. And meditation, as I said, is really being aligned with the teacher's thoughts and what the teacher is trying to convey itself. So, um, another word when we think about acharya is guru, right? So, guru is the one who removes the darkness, we say, removes the darkness within our mind. So, what is that darkness? Darkness signifies
Ignorance.
ignorance, right? So,
Yes.
one who removes the darkness through the light of knowledge, that such a person is a guru or acharya. So, that person on whom I can, when the guru is giving me that knowledge and I'm able to meditate upon that guru, that is, can also be looked at as the acharya pasanam. So from that, so this is a very important aspect of it, because as I am completely in tune with the guru itself, then what happens is nothing becomes too small or too big for me, and I'm able to really, learn to this aspect of surrender. So, Upasanam can also mean taking, of course, from service to meditation where my alignment is, to ultimately that aspect of surrender, surrender at the feet of the Guru. So, these are all very powerful concepts when you think about it, because a surrender, that is, really surrendering my ego. The one thing that is very important for me right now is what I think is my own ego or my identity, right? But when that alignment happens with the guru on what the guru is trying to give me the knowledge here, there is a sense of complete surrender that needs to happen, where my surrender of my ego at the feet of the Lord. So, in that sense, also, Acharyopasanam means surrender. And in Bhagavad Gita, we actually, we see Lord Krishna using actually this word of Acharyopasanam many times when he's talking to Arjuna, asking Arjuna to actually surrender that ego in him. And in order to do this, of course, the mind has to be subtle, the mind has to be very pure. And the purity, of course, we'll be coming to as next the word, which is shaucham. But then that is the aspect which needs to be thought about, which is that by the purity of mind, the surrender happens quite easily. Now, when we think about an acharya, right? Um, the choosing the right acharya is also very important. Choosing the acharya with whom I can be completely aligned, and again, sometimes, through wrong judgment within ourselves, we may think, oh, I'm going to this guru, but I'm not going to that guru. So, gurus are there, many gurus are there for a purpose. They are there because of somebody like me, somebody like me, in the sense we all are actually sometimes, different in how we think, on where we are with regard to the maturity of our minds. So we need to also make sure that, when I'm choosing a guru for myself, I'm able to align myself well with that particular guru. So this is an important aspect that we need to think about, because once that alignment happens, then a service and surrender happens quite easily. So service to the teacher or surrender to the teacher implies actually a complete surrender of the whole frame of our minds. And this frame of our mind, which for us, each one of us, is defined, I would say, by the various likes and dislikes, within our mind, that ability to give up all that and align myself. So, Acharya Upasanam is a very powerful word in that sense. It really means a great personal surrender of my ego, my likes, my dislikes, everything that is me, and aligning myself with that Acharya. So, this can happen only with an Acharya with whom I am completely comfortable, right? So, only that person, that Acharya who has a very clear, steady knowledge of the truth, and who he or she is at a level where I can look up to, who has not much of needs. Only such a person can actually be a teacher, a real teacher, to whom I can serve. So when Krishna in Bhagavad Gita tells that Acharya Upasanam is, a value for jnanam, as we said, jnanam, which is a means, it should be understood that the teacher at whose feet the student surrenders must be a teacher of such great integrity and freedom from need from anything. The teacher is not depending upon the student for any kind of service or anything, but by doing the service, the student gets benefited by that aspect of surrender. So, Acharya Upasanam then also indicates that willingness to serve, you know. Many times, we feel that, we are so lucky to have gotten a certain job from where I can get a lot of money and position and all that, right? But even more than that is uh, where we can count ourselves lucky is where we've had an opportunity to be able to serve a great master. So that is really the highest form of service. So that willingness to serve, it basically means that I am ready. I'm ready to give up everything that I have. And it is actually done in a spirit of lot of happiness that, I have been given that opportunity to serve. That how many people can really get that opportunity? So, in this regard to that willingness to serve is where this Acharya Upasanam as a value becomes very important. And from the aspect of the student, so in this Guru Sishya relationship, if you want to think about it, um, there is no give and take. It's not as if the student is giving, and in return he's taking the knowledge, but actually the attitude is on the aspect of the student that he should be able to give and give and give. So that aspect of it really comes across well in this value of Acharya Upasanam. So through that aspect of being able to give, our ego reduces. And when our ego reduces, this attitude of questioning also, becomes less and less, and my mind becomes pure in order to receive this knowledge. So that is the most beautiful thing of this particular value. Um, and I think I've given this example before too about how um, this, somebody from America goes all the way to India, and, he meets one of the Buddhist teachers, and he wants to, meet with this Buddhist teacher. He actually goes all the way, he makes a trip to India to actually learn from this master. But then he being, a university professor who is well versed in, this particular aspect of religious studies, he starts to sort of, speak about his own knowledge. And this teacher, says, do you want tea? And, he says, okay, you can serve me tea. And so the teacher starts to pour tea in the cup. And at some point, uh, the professor who's looking at the guru finds that the teacher is actually pouring tea, and the tea is actually pouring out of the cup. Okay, so this professor asks him, the tea is spilling. Why are you doing it? So then, the teacher says, well, that's how your mind is. You seem to be so full of knowledge, so full of facts, not even knowledge. You seem to be so full of facts that I'm not sure if you're really ready yet to receive knowledge. So, Acharya Upasanam is that ability where I can actually clean my mind, have the purity so that I'm ready to actually get the knowledge. So, that willingness to serve comes when my mind is clear. So, this, at the end of the day, Acharya Upasanam, respect for the teacher is an ultimate thing. So, of course, for any, and this doesn't goes, is not just for a spiritual teacher, but any teacher, the first element of it is the respect for the teacher, which is very important. So I just found this beautiful quote and I thought I'll put it up, where the mindset of the student has to be that, teach me, I need to be strong enough to grow, wise enough to ask, and humble enough to receive. So that's the most powerful thing in this aspect of Acharya Upasanam. So it is, it goes in so many different ways by serving the teacher, by respecting the teacher, by surrendering to the teacher that purifies the mind of the student and makes a person ready to receive the knowledge itself. So, just wanted to discuss at that value. So, I was actually thinking about putting reflective questions for each one of these values, but maybe I'll start off with this particular value here so that we can get a little bit of a discussion going as well. And through the discussions, maybe you might be able to share your own thoughts on this beautiful value of Acharya Upasanam. So, okay, I have this one question here. Uh, Today, the way education is set up, is mostly we are going to colleges or universities or even schools mostly to get knowledge so that I can increase the amount of qualifications, and through that increase in qualifications I can get a good job, and through the job get enough things that I'm looking for, which will increase my worth, whether it's money, position, name, fame, real estate, all those things. So, in such a context, what do you think? Is it necessary for us to gain the self knowledge despite our achievements, qualifications, and all the modern day technologies, which, right now AI is coming up more and more and more and taking over our lives. And so, and all the modern day technologies that make our everyday life so comfortable. So, in all this, where do you see the value of self knowledge? And it is particularly important in this regard because at the highest level of the teachers, what we're looking at from, as I mentioned, the first grade teacher, fifth grade, 10th grade teachers, to ultimately the teacher who gives me the ultimate knowledge of truth, who really gives me that exposure to what my final goal in life is. Correct? and who is giving me that kind of self-knowledge. So what do you think?
Hari Om.
Go ahead, Anand.
Yeah. The knowledge that's required to, get the money, fame, that's available outside, whereas the self knowledge available is not available. So so that's the to reach that ultimate goal. So it is necessary to gain the self knowledge and through the guru parampara.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And also one of the other things Aswin, is like a Guru Paduka Stotram and some of the
Mm-hmm.
slokas. The interpretation what I heard was the the Guru Paduka, and then all that it stands for the values where the Guru stands. So it's not necessarily literal meaning, but
Mm-hmm.
to worship the values.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the Paduka represents the uh, is a signifies
The
the
values where
values on which the teacher stands,
right,
right?
right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. One second. Sorry, I need to take this call. Yeah, go ahead. Anybody else wants to?
Uh,
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 yes, go ahead,
yeah,
Suresh.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
So I'm thinking the question uh, begins with one recognizing or not recognizing there is something about inner self which is different from what you see outside or experience outside. For someone who does not recognize it, that looks like it is not necessary. The self knowledge is not even necessary because because there is simply no concept of there is something different from outside.
Absolutely,
It seems to
extremely
me
well
that is
put.
the starting point.
That's the starting point. Yes.
And once you recognize that, then the answer is very clear.
Yes. Yes. That is the starting point, which is
Because
do
none
I?
of what you learn, all those qualifications, achievements, those things don't address that part most of the time.
That's right.
So the
That's right.
maturity should be there, and the trigger point. Oh, I'm
Correct.
getting all these things. I have everything, but you know, then you get
Right.
that question saying that who am I? Like, what is all these kind of a thing? There
Correct.
will be a
Correct.
time, I think. Yeah.
Right. And a precursor to Sureshi's question, where for a person who doesn't recognize um, that there is something called as inner versus outer, you know, somebody who's always focused only on the outer world and is trying to gain a lot of, objects, power, relationships, all that stuff to get to happiness. And it actually, the one more precursor to this is, where does happiness lie? Is happiness really outside or happiness inside? Or maybe that question will come much later. But I like the way Suresh brought that point, which is, if somebody who's always outside and doesn't even know that there is something else called an inner thing, then that person will not even know what self knowledge is. Correct. So another question on the same lines, which is now the reason why I'm bringing this up is because of this second question. if we consider that something like self-knowledge indeed is necessary, so now we're going to phase two, So there is somebody who already knows that, yes, there is inner and outward peace, and can you attain it without the help of a qualified teacher? Now, again, this question is because today we live uh, I mean, it's interesting. We had internet. After internet, we had YouTube, and through YouTube, we have plethora of masters, knowledge, everything that is available. So, and now, okay, even if that is not, you have Chat GPT who will put everything as a nice capsule, literally a pill, which you can just swallow and you're done, right? So, do we still, in this day and age of this, do we still need a qualified teacher? And if you say you can attain it without such assistance, why has it not happened so far? So, the last question is actually even more powerful. But what do you think? So, this definitely requires a little bit of discussion here. First of all, do I need a teacher? And if I don't need a teacher, why has this not happened so far?
Harvom.
Yeah,
Uh,
go ahead, Anand.
yeah, I mean, some people like I would say Ramana Maharshi, they realize by themselves. There are more people, that way. There are, I mean, I would say very few people that way. But for the rest of the, you know, rest of us, we need to go through a qualified, a guru, because the questions, I mean, as we can maybe we can learn from different sources, but the questions are not clarified, then that may not lead to the right path, or it goes to a very slow path. So guru is necessary, and that has been coming from, I would say, generations, and it will continue.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You're right. You're right.
Hari Om.
Yeah. Savarna?
I'm continuing on what Sureshji was saying. If first of all, if you don't even, there are is first you have to know that uh, whatever knowledge you have, you're happy with it, you're content with it, you don't want anything extra, then you're not even going to look for that spiritual, knowing your true self. You're not going to even venture that side if you're content with all the materialistic knowledge that you have, and with the prosperity and with everything that you're getting. If you're content with it, you're not going to go to the spiritual side of the thing. But if you are balanced and you want to actually, it's like it's going to be two different aspects, right? First is the aspect that you're content in your own life. You don't, in the materialistic part of the world, you're content with it and you don't bother about kal jo hai kal hai. Today I'm happy, I'm content, that's it. That is the first kind. The second kind would be that, no, I am here today, I'm prosperous today, but how did I get here? What is it that brought me here? If someone does self reflection on that, that person is going to look for a guru who is going to help that person achieve that kind of that will be able to guide the person get the answer, not give the answer, but guide the person to get that answer. So yes, the guru is needed. If you say you need assistance in finding that self-realization, then you need help. It could be, it has to be, in my case, it has to be a physical person who has to teach me how to figure it out. It cannot be chat GTP or something like that. It has to be a physical person. So
Right.
that is how I look at it. Either you
Mm-hmm.
want it
Mm-hmm.
or either you don't want it. Two
Mm-hmm.
different. But people who say that they got it from just looking at, you know, the technology does help you, but I just can't figure out how it will help us with attaining this kind of uh, self
Mm-hmm.
knowledge. Maybe it
Mm-hmm.
will give you peace. We watch some funny videos or
Right.
something like that where there's
Yeah.
temporary peace, just for some
Right.
time, not the
Right.
happiness from within. It is just that the mind, when it is
Right.
too agitated, maybe we can control, maybe it will calm it down for some time, but it is external
Yeah.
stimuli, so it's not going to be long lasting. So if it
Right.
has to be
Exactly.
internal, it has to be,
Yeah.
if the peace has to be everlasting, then it has to be internal.
Right.
That is
Right.
my
So
take.
coming back, I know. Right. So coming back to the need for a guru, I think that is where we are focused on. And I think this is this, especially this question is very valid because more and more, we are looking at newer and newer technologies that's going to come up, and AI. I don't know where it's going to go. Is it really going to make a huge difference, or is it going to destroy the world? Whatever. Before that, we still have to think about how do we bring self knowledge up front to children, and maybe that is a good question to think about after this third question I have here. How important for you is a competent, qualified teacher who will help you realize your true identity? I think, in a way, this question we already answered it. We do recognize, I mean, Suvarna mentioned she needs a physical guru. I think we all need a physical guru for sure. And we have many gurus who would be the right person for us. I think that is also there. Even YouTube can be a guru, provided the only problem is YouTube is inert and YouTube is not going to know what my mind is thinking, right? Who will see that? That is exactly the reason for a guru. You know, we need a guru who understands who I am and take me out from where I am and take me up. That YouTube is not going to do, right? Um, so this is why we need a physical guru who will do that. All the books, everything can take us to one point, but beyond that point, we need that. That's why this nowadays, in a very simplified fashion at work, and this one we have what we call this is a mentor-mentee relationships. So that mentor-mentee relationship, so ultimately it's the same thing. Acharya Upasanam is a mentor-mentee relationship, but it's much, much more powerful because a mentor is for life, an acharya is for life. A mentor can be only for that particular area, right? Anyway, I just thought I'll put these three questions for you to think about because this is a very powerful value because it is hitting something. Okay. So now going to the next value, which is Shaucham. So what is Shaucham? Shaucham is basically, again, going back as a segue from the previous one. If my mind is pure, then whatever the teacher is telling me, I will be able to absorb it right away. You know, so it's like the same mirror. If the mirror is really dirty, it will not reflect who I am. So, the same thing. So, how do I bring that purity in my mind? It's only by first recognizing that my mind is dirty, right? But here, Shaucham can be thought about in two ways. The first one is, of course, external cleanliness, which is easy. And the second one is my inner cleanliness. So, Shaucham is the purity, and this purity is something which we really need to think about and how we can bring that value closer to children. I mean, uh, I guess Bahya Shuchi is also something which is decreasing these days. I mean, earlier when people of our generation taking a bath in the morning, first thing in the morning was considered as the most important thing. But now, for most of our kids of Gen Z and Alpha, taking bath as the last step before they go to bed is important you know so we have changed so much in terms of this cleanliness, even though it may be argued that India is a hot country and you want to be sure that you have taken a bath before you venture into the world, all that. But even in a cold country like US, for example, this taking a bath in the morning is important because it brings a freshness in how I deal with the day, right? So that's where the Bahya Shruti is important. The benefit is, of course, it makes you automatically wear clean clothes, have a clean self, all that. So there is a kind of a daily discipline. So this is more of a discipline thing, which brings about a certain attentiveness, alertness. All this is what we look at from the external way. So now let us really go deeper into the Shaucham. This is the inner mind. So, what do we mean by cleanliness of the mind? What do we see as the things which a mind has to be cleaned from? What do you think? So, it could be any of them, right? Yeah, go ahead.
Anger, all these bad qualities.
Right, right. Anger, selfishness,
Yeah,
um, jealousy, envy, um, having a sense of possessiveness, or even the same thing, damba. We talked about dambitvam, manitvam, all that, all kinds of emotions, all kinds of frustrations, all kinds of, anxiety, all these things, all of them can be really put under the aspect of, you know, dirtiness, I guess, of the mind. And of course, and all this will lead to the external um, uncleanliness, if you will, of having a cluttered desk, not wearing proper clothes, not wearing ironed clothes, all that. So that is really what we're talking about here in terms of the purity of the mind. So then the question comes is, how do I really become clean? You know, uh, First of all, I have to recognize all these things which, in some sense, and even actually Raga Dvesha can also be considered as something which makes my mind unclean. So every day I need to do some kind of this cleanliness process, um, you know, to do this. So how do we do this? How do I, where do we start this process? Again, I'm pulling Sureshi's comment here, which is when he said, the first step is to recognize that my mind is not clean. How many people can really say that, you know, um, I have all these qualities. I have all these qualities which I really want to get rid of. So, uh, first, as always, the first step is it starts with satsang, right? Satsangatve nisangatve, nishalatatve, jivan mukti at the end of the day. But we emphasize this with our children too, right? As soon as we put them into school, whether it's starting with kindergarten, we always kind of emphasize, okay, who's your friend? Who's your best friend? We ask them as soon as they come back. We want to know about the friends with whom they keep. So that is at the level of the children. So for us, at the level of again, self-knowledge, then it comes to surrounding ourselves with people who are always not materialistic and who are really wanting to improve themselves, who are exhibiting qualities of love and compassion and service to the society. So that probably is the first step for us to start recognizing that aspect. And even, of course, surrounding ourselves with people who are disciplined, who tend to elevate me to, who I can look up to. So, surrounding ourselves with that, correct? So, that is the aspect. So, we are literally looking for people with uh, kind of saintly qualities. So we're looking for people are who have the ability, who are friends with everyone. Then we start to think, okay, how come this person is really friends with so many people? How come everyone loves this person? Well, maybe it's because this person loves everyone, you know. So this is where again the value of Shanti comes in, right? Shanti is acceptance of everyone. So, if that is the case, then I need to look at my own self. What is it about me that are people are running away from me? Am I exhibiting certain qualities which are something that I need to work on? How do I become clean? So, this gives me, so that's the first step for Shaucham. So in that sense, Shaucham is very, is important because it's kind of the compass or the mirror which tells me, what are the qualities I need to get rid of in order to become clean. And in its true essence, it basically means that it's a mirror for me which tells me how pure my mind should be. So it allows me to look inside and understand. The clarity of mind can come only when I'm aware of my weaknesses. I'm aware of the qualities I need to get rid of, which again Amma already pointed out, which is, anger and jealousy and pride and sense of ego and all the emotions, all these. So that's what Shaucham is. So Shaucham is really about purity of mind. So again, let's think about this in terms of reflective questions. Um, and this is, of course, not for discussion as such, but something more of a reflection is uh, taking stock, I would say, taking stock of the values of the negative values we have. So, which of the personal qualities, emotions in me, which I can be aware of? We probably have all the qualities, which we talked about, jealousy, anger, but there are some of them which may be a little more than the others. And along with that, how does it manifest externally in my behavior? And what are the results of such actions? So, again, a very reflective question here to think about. And the second one is now, if I can take for each one of those qualities, uh, how do I see that being manifested? You know, does this lead to any kind of what I already see, a kind of a negative attitude towards any particular person? So, again, a reflective thing here. How can I actually write this down? And how can I start to work upon it? Now, having done that, so this is almost like, so all these are reflective questions. Step one, step two, and then step three is for that same person with whom I'm having some negative thing, let me think of what is positive. And is it possible to write down all the positive qualities of that person and see if I can start to appreciate and practice this? So now then, this is a question of observing this. So did focusing on the positive attribute now lessen my negative emotions towards that person? And taking this opposite, which, there's a word for this, which is pratipaksha bhavana. By taking an opposite view, has it helped me as a person to get rid of that particular emotion? So, and by doing so, of course, it leads to the purity of mind, but I do think this is also a value which is not an easy value. Um, for many reasons. One of them, of course, the simplest reason is we are all so busy doing something all the time that it's very hard for us to sit down and really reflect upon who am I, what are the different values which are hurting me, hurting others. Um, so this, it starts with that much, almost, clearing up things on my plate, taking some time to take this, taking stock of what are the negative values that I have and how can I really improve upon it. And taking one example of how am I behaving towards somebody who I'm close to, what is it I'm doing. Um, so in that sense, this value, Shaucham, is an important value because it's almost like one of the basic values I need to think about. It starts with cleanliness, right? Anything like we talked about, whether it's external cleanliness or internal cleanliness, it starts with having a clean surface to work with. And once I have the clean surface, then the question is, what is it that is making it dirty? And taking each one of those values and literally seeing that how it is affecting a certain person, then trying to see how I can substitute that with a positive value, and then seeing how that can really make my mind pure. So, more of reflection here, but I want to hear from you. What do you think?
Hariom, can we go back to the previous slide, please? The reflection question, the first one and the second one.
Mm-hmm.
The next one, which of it?
Yeah, so the first question is about really understanding what is it that's making my mind dirty, and what the second one is taking any one particular value or multiple values by really focusing on a particular person with whom, because see, again, the fact that I have these values comes into effect only when I see the effect on a particular situation or a person. So that's what this question is leading towards. So literally, it's a four-step process for
Yeah,
reflection.
I was still stuck on the fact that I'm thinking about my own attributes,
Uh-huh.
my own what do I have? Jealousy, selfishness, envy, ego, yada yada. All those
Yeah.
things that that I have. I did not go as far as trying to think that I'm taking a person into consideration and how am I behaving. I did not go that far, so I missed this part completely. Thank you. I was still hung up on what all
Yeah.
I have without
Okay, got it.
without even taking the second person into consideration. I was busy trying to figure out
Got it.
everything that I
Yeah.
had. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
when we were talking, when you were explaining the third slide, I was like, what did I miss?
Miss,
Why are we
right,
talking about someone else? So that
right,
was where.
right.
Thank
So the
you.
thing is that what this value is trying to get to is many times we make judgments about other people, which happens because of a quality that I have. So
Yes.
now we are trying to cleanse ourselves by um, by this method of looking at somebody else in a positive way, and by doing that, that is helping to cleanse ourselves. It's not about directly looking at, oh, I am jealous of this person, how do I remove my jealousy? So this is offering a method,
A stopgap.
not a stopgap. It is a method because the only way I know what is wrong with me is when I look at my attitude towards somebody else. So you need, you need somebody outside on whom you have been, for example, if I'm working with a coworker and I find that there's some conflict between me and this person, then I try to look at what is it about the other person that is making me mad. So this is indirectly trying to show that there's something about me that is affecting it, but then I'm looking at the other person and I'm saying that what is it about that other person which is making me mad? Is it that the person is, always late, is never able to finish things on time, and that is why I'm mad at that person? Um, and every time, if I'm mad at that person for a particular quality, that means actually I have that quality. Okay.
Yes.
I also have that negative quality, but I'm
Yes.
not
Yes.
willing to address it directly. The way I'm trying to address it is by looking at somebody else. Now, once I say, let's take the same example of this person is always late and who's not trying to finish things on time. Let me look at something else which is positive about that person. So, by looking at some other positive quality, I am actually now reducing that some sense of a jealousy, if you will, but it hasn't yet solved the issue that I have, which is about late or whatever. Okay. So now we come to that next step, which is okay, at least the other person now I've established a certain sense of, appreciating that person or something. But now I start to look at, okay, maybe I'm that kind of a person who is always late, and I'm that kind of a person who is not finishing things on time. Let me work on that myself. Once I do that, then I will be able to impress on somebody else on how to not be late and how to do things well. So, in that sense, this is a kind of a process. Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
So for this, we should have that knowledge and acharya who will say like
Correct.
this is right, this is wrong, kind of a thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So at some after we finish the 20 values, or even after finish one full section, we
Mm-hmm.
will be able to make that whole connection between all
Oh,
these
okay.
values.
Yeah.
But now itself you can see, um, by with this question, we get into this habit of kshanti.
Mm.
Kshanti is acceptance of that other person, acceptance that nobody is perfect, and everyone has s- you
Different.
know yeah, both positive and negatives. But so this is one way to cleanse my mind. So how do I clean my mind? I need some pointers. So this is why some of these things are given. Number one is, the first one was, of course, surround yourself with every good people all the time. But the next one is this aspect of finding out what is it about another person whom I can substitute with a positive quality and start loving the person. And then by doing so, I myself will be able to see what is negative about me. And then I start to cleanse.
So this is where the introspection comes in picture.
Correct,
Okay.
correct. That introspection, detection,
Yeah.
substitution. Yeah. I know it seems like we're taking a long time with each of the values, but they're all, as I said, very reflective. Okay, we'll finish here. Oh, 10 minutes. सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते, पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sunita
And
ji.
have a good
everyone.
evening. Have
Thank you,
I know
Sunita.
you're
Yeah.
welcome. See you.
Hari
Hari
Om.
Om.
Thank you, Sunita ji.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari
Hari
Om,
Om.
thank you
Hari Om,
so
Suresh
much.
ji.
Om.
Hari
Hari Om.
Om.
Thank you.